Welcome to another GA Canine training video. Today we are showing a failure. It's a really good example of when we should stop the dog and start the track again in a better location. Okay, so you're getting Valiant out of the car. You're getting ready for your scent inventory. I like that. And one of the reasons being is this area is heavily contaminated. You can see you've got a lot of vehicles over there. This time of day is probably going to be a little bit more active, perhaps, but what I see right off the bat is a lot of activity. Now you can see Valiant sampling the air already. I mean, if you look there to the corner, you can see her sampling the air by air scent and then also checking things on the ground. Now, one of the things I'd like to see you do a little bit better is as you're walking to and from places, pay attention more to her and less to the surroundings. And I noticed in the beginning that you weren't really watching her, you were kind of looking at everything else, and the same thing is applying here, you're kind of looking forward. So as you're moving along, really try to just keep one eye on the dog and one eye on your surroundings. It's super crucial. Now, I do have to comment, I think that this location is too difficult for Valiant at this stage in her training. She's only 5 months old. And you're putting her into quite a bit of contamination and, more importantly, a lot of distractions. You can see she just picked up a piece of paper. Anything's going to get her attention right now. And it's because she's a puppy, and puppies love to check things out. So when you get into an area like this, you have to think that the ability for her to isolate one odor is going to be compromised because she's so interested in everything else. So as much as I'd love to see her start tracking in this place, in my opinion, this is just a little bit too soon. You've just got too much going on right here. So got a great scent article, obviously. It's a great place for odor, but this is also an incredibly contaminated place. I don't think I would put that scent article right there in the middle of the track. The reason being is you have too many people that are using this path for running, whatever, and you can see right here she's distracted. In my opinion, I think this distraction was animal right there. And you can tell by her behavior, she's not confident, she's not comfortable, she's having a hard time isolating odors. So if I were to start a track here, I think the better part of valor would be to put the track maybe to the right in the woods, start it up there, put the scent article there, or off to the left, but not on the main track line where so many other people already have been. You can tell she's having a very, very difficult time isolating odor. Hasn't really picked up the track yet. I think she picked up some human odor, but nothing really great. Right here, that's animal distraction. I think probably this, I recognize this location. We get a fair amount of dog walking in this area. And in a situation like this, with a lot of different types of stuff going on, she's going to probably get into some animal odor from time to time. The dogs are really hard to resist when you're a 5-month-old puppy. So you can see she's trying to find something, and I think if we just continue to push, you're just going to get off on some more distractions. Okay, so Valiant picks up a track right here pretty nicely, but I don't like what it is. I think it's a distraction. You can tell by her behavior because she's simply being way too detailed on the track. And more importantly, you're going to start seeing some behavior here where she stops, checks something out, plants her nose, tail drops. All these things tell me that this is probably some sort of animal. What could it be? You know, I don't know, and honestly, it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is again, what's happening is she's off on some sort of distracting critter here, human or animal, and the longer this goes on, the more she's going to believe that it's okay to check these things out. And we don't want that right now. At this stage of the game, she needs to stay focused. So one of the things that I like to do with the puppies when we're imprinting them is to keep them in places where we do nothing but build focus really, really strong until the only thing that matters is the trail air. And we can kind of defeat this process when we start getting them into a little bit too contamination too soon. So is this place a good place to trail? I think it is, but not here, not where you started. It's the kind of like the confluence of several streams going into a big river. Everybody walks around here, you know, people, dogs, fishermen. It's a very, very contaminated place. The better place to start would have been off in the woods near here, where you could have relied on some of the contamination to be on the fringe of the dog's attention, not having the dog right in the middle of it. So She's running along nicely here, moving forward. Obviously, she's on something, but how many things, I'm a little bit suspect. I think that with so much distraction that she was involved in before, there's a very good chance this is a distraction too. Look at this right here, planting the nose, tail dropping all the way. More than likely that is probably poo or pee of another dog. So in my opinion at this point, I probably would have stopped the trail and put her up and moved the trail to another location with less contamination. Now, the question comes is, well, you know, obviously the dog needs to work in contamination. She needs to learn how to do that. Yeah, of course, all dogs do, but you have to do it when the dog's ready for it, when the dog can handle all of that type of stuff. And 5 months old, I think, is a little bit too young. And more importantly, with the level of experience that you have. We can get into that contamination, but we have to do it in such a way that it's not going to be so problematic for the dog. So is she on something here? Absolutely. But is it the right thing? I'm questioning that. You know, you could be going in the right direction, but obviously this is a path that a lot of other people take as well.
Let's go.
Okay, so right here you just run into another animal distraction. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but just based on the area, my thinking is it's probably dog poop or dog pee. And she's on it for way too long. That tail drop, she comes off whatever it was that she was on to get into that. So again, we've had multiple animal distractions up to this point, and really I'm questioning whether she's on what we're supposed to be on. I think more than likely it's just been multiple distractions. Okay, and now here we have another distraction. She sensed it from a distance, goes over to check it out. Don't know exactly what it is, but more than likely it's probably a dog, just based on this area. Lots of dogs out here. And right now we have another animal distraction just based on the behavior. More than likely it's a dog planting her nose, dropping her tail, some sort of animal. You know, the other thing is it also could be a coyote. But the bottom line is so far we've had way too many distractions, and she's just not ready for this particular type of trail yet. Too long, too hard, too much contamination. So the better part of valor, when we see this many distractions, it's time to put the dog up. As a matter of fact, you're well past that. We should have probably put her up at the beginning of the track. Okay, so Valiant does trail on this track. I mean, she does a pretty decent job of actually following it from time to time, but the biggest issue that I have is just there's way too many distractions. And so the question is, you know, is this good? I mean, obviously she's following the track line and she gets you to the general area where you're supposed to go, but is it a good thing at this point? Question mark. I don't think it is, and the reason why I don't think it is just because we've had too many critters along the way. And as you continue through this track, I'm going to cut this off here in just a minute because we continue to see distractions from her in different locations throughout the rest of the video. You know, it's kind of one thing after another. So I think you can see by the behavior on the past distractions, when we get into them here, you're going to see, you know, even more. Does she work? Absolutely. But the problem is the distraction value is simply way too high for her. And what does that do? Well, it teaches her that it's okay to get off on the distractions because you're allowing it, and that's what we can't have. We can't have a dog that jumps off onto other critters. And the way we stop that from happening is by building the focus in the dog so they're so focused on what they're looking for, they don't get off on the distractions. So what that means is you need to clean up your area a little bit, reduce the possibility for these types of things, build her skill set more, and then if she gets better, slowly move her back into the distractions, okay? So I'm picking up the video again, getting close to the area that we stopped. I wanted to point out just a few things, and then the video is going to pan out towards the end here shortly.
Let's go, girl. You got it. Yeah, you got it. You're on it, buddy.
So at this point in the trail, I honestly think you're pushing her. You know, you're giving her some good motivating words of encouragement, but I think she's off on distractions again. And yeah, I think she's been trailing from time to time, but also there's just far too many distractions. And the issue is why are there so many distractions? And that's because of the start was so distracting. You got her into a place that had so much contamination, it was a little bit unclear for her what she should be following. And so she got off on a little different animal things that were out there. Now, should she be able to work through that? Absolutely. Any trailing dog should, but not at this stage of the game. She is a 5-month-old puppy, and this is just way too much contamination to begin with. So in my opinion, what you should have done is start on the edge of all this contamination in a place where that scent article didn't have other tracks or other competing odors, and get a good, strong direction of travel before you encounter the contamination. So don't start in the contamination now, start where it's clean, and you can test the contamination by, for example, starting off in a deep wooded area with no activity, and then cross this running trail there somewhere in the middle of the track. Build up the 3-tone missile lock of the dog before you get into that contamination. But when you start in the contamination, you end up having a situation where she's just too distracted. And at this age, it's just too difficult.
Nah, leave it.
So, in my opinion here, you know, what you've got going is just competing, distracting odors. And yeah, I think she was in the right area, but I think you've gotten into a situation where the contamination again is just too much. And why is it so much? Well, it's because you started off with too much contamination. She never got 3-tone missile lock in the beginning of the track, so you can't really expect it now. So you need to step back. We need to get into places that are cleaner. Start your track in a clean place where there's no distracting competing odors. Build her skill set first before you build up into that contamination. You know, you're paying attention to your phone, but look at the distraction your dog's on, some sort of animal, okay? And you let it happen for so long. Now, you're expecting miracles. You want her to do really good, and the success is actually, I think, becoming a little bit more important than the quality of the work. So don't think so much about the outcome. Let's think about the process that we're doing. You need to step back. So what am I going to have you do? I want you to get into a cleaner area in the beginning. You can use the same type of place, but rather than starting that track right in the middle of a lot of contamination and competing odors, let's start the track off in the woods away from where the confluence of all these other trails are. And let's give her at least 100 to 200 yards of uncontaminated track so we get that 3-tone missile lock. When she gets into the contaminated area, then she's going to have a better chance of getting through it because she's going to be so focused on odor. Now, as she gets better with these things, these trails, we can get her closer and closer to the contamination in the start of the track. But for now, we need to start away from it. She's not going to be ready for a lot of contaminated tracks for at least another month or two. Okay. Now, the other thing that you can also do is, instead of working kind of in the middle of the day, use these areas when there's less activity. Come at night if that's possible, or very, very early in the morning. That's another time to do it. So, hindsight's always 20/20, but in the future, when we start a track and you see so many distractions to begin with, in other words, you're seeing more than 2 or 3 or 4, it's time to put her up. Okay, if she doesn't isolate the track after three or four distractions, your distraction value is too high. We need to get into a place where the distraction value is lower so we can build that focus. Now, as her focus gets better with age, the quality of the track and the ability to work through the contamination will get better too. But right now, you're just putting her into places she's just not ready for. And usually that's because you want success. You're letting your ego drive the work and not necessarily what's best for her. Failure has to be a big part of what we do. Don't let this failure and the problems that took place create issues for you later on. You just need to learn from them. It's very important that things like this happen. You're not going to hurt your dog. You're not going to hurt your training. You just have to realize what you did and then step back from it.